Captain Mira Stone descended from her starship onto the soft jade-green grass of Verdantia. The air smelled of sweet moss and dew, and each breath felt like a gentle welcome. Above her, the sky rippled with pale violet clouds that drifted lazily between two suns. Myra's heart beat faster as she took her first steps into this new world. She felt both thrill and calm, as if Verdantia itself was embracing her arrival. Mira walked beside her small crew, all of them in light suits that shimmered under the sun's rays. They carried scanners and mapping tools, but for a moment, none of them spoke. Around them, towering crystal trees rose like glass pillars. Each trunk was smooth and translucent, and sunlight passed through them in flickering patterns. These trees were unlike anything in human records. At their bases, tiny flowers glowed with blue light, as if the forest floor had its own quiet magic. A soft rustle sounded nearby, and a creature with long, slender legs and gentle eyes peeked through fern-like leaves. It moved slowly, curious, but not afraid. Mira knelt and offered a small, glowing fruit from her pack. The creature sniffed it and took a delicate bite. Its wide eyes softened, and it bowed its head in gratitude before vanishing back into the undergrowth. Myra smiled, feeling a warm connection to this world and its inhabitants. As the crew spread out to scan for minerals and water sources, Myra remained still beneath the crystal canopy. She closed her eyes and listened. Beneath the birdsong and wind, she sensed something deeper, low humming pulse that seemed to come from the very heart of Verdantia. It felt like a distant heartbeat, slow and steady. Mira placed a hand on a nearby tree trunk. She felt a faint tingle, like the tree was awake and aware of her presence. Night fell quickly on Verdantia. The sun slipped below the horizon in a single, breathtaking moment. Darkness brought no fear, only wonder. Bioluminescent vines lit up along the forest floor, weaving patterns of soft greens and purples. The crystal trees reflected these lights, making the entire clearing shine like the inside of a gem.
Myra
Stood beneath their glow and felt a shiver of joy at the sight. Her tent was set up near a gentle stream that whispered over smooth stones. Inside, the crew gathered around a small lantern that mimicked the glow of the vines. Mira removed her helmet and touched her hair, feeling the cool night air against her skin. She glanced at her team, noticing the awe in their faces. Even veteran explorers looked childlike in this gentle world. Mira felt a sense of pride and wonder. She thought of home, of the busy corridors of her ship, and realized how small and precious life felt in this new place. As she drifted to sleep, Mira dreamed of a soft, glowing form calling her name. She saw a figure with pale opal skin and eyes like liquid moonlight. The figure reached out, and Mira felt an urgent plea echo through her mind. It was as if Verdantia itself was speaking to her, asking for help. She woke with a start, her heart pounding. Outside, the crystal trees whispered in the night breeze, and Mira knew her mission had changed. Verdantia was not just a world to chart. It was a living being that needed her understanding and care. In the quiet dawn, Mira stood at the edge of the forest. Her eyes were bright with purpose. She would learn Verdantia's secrets, and she would protect this world that had touched her heart so deeply. The adventure she had dreamed of was only beginning. Captain Myra Stone awoke before dawn to a soft violet glow on her tent walls. Outside, the bioluminescent vines pulsed gently as if breathing. She slipped on her suit and stepped into the morning air. The world felt alive in a new way, humming with quiet energy. Mira rubbed the sleep from her eyes and drew a steady breath. Today she would explore deeper. She followed the stream's gentle curve, its water clear and cold against mossy stones. Blurry mist curled above the surface, blurring the line between land and sky. As she walked, her scanner beeped softly, marking pockets of unusual energy. Mira knelt beside one such spot. The ground shimmered like liquid glass. She placed a gloved hand on the moss. A spark of warmth traveled up her arm. Verdantia was trying to speak again. Mira called over her communications link. Her geologist, Dr. Theo Chan, arrived with careful steps. He examined the readings and frowned in wonder. "I've never seen this," he said, pointing at the scanner's display. "It's as if the planet stores memory in these patches." Mira smiled, feeling wonder spark in her chest. To think Verdantia remembered every moment, every footstep taken here. She pressed her palm to the earth and whispered, "I'm listening." The sky brightened as the twin suns rose. Their light filtered through crystal leaves, scattering shards of color across the forest floor. Birds with translucent wings flitted above, singing soft melodies. Myra watched them in quiet awe. Even the most seasoned explorers in her crew stood motionless, forgetting time. In that moment, she felt the bond she shared with them grow strong. They were not tourists. They were guardians on a sacred mission. As the morning passed, the crew mapped the forest's edges and cataloged unfamiliar plants. Myra noticed one vine that wrapped itself gently around a crystal trunk. Its glow dimmer where it touched the bark. She knelt again and carefully peeled it back. Underneath, a series of markings glowed like runes. Mira traced them with her fingertip. They formed a spiral, then spread outward in fractal patterns. She felt a flush of excitement. Verdantia's story was written in its own flesh. Back at the camp, Mira laid her sketches and sensor data on a portable table. Each crew member contributed notes, chemical analysis, magnetic readings, even recordings of wind patterns. Myra's eyes shone as she connected the dots. The energy pulses, the memory patches, the runes beneath the vine, they all pointed to something vast and sentient. Verdantia was more than a planet. It was a living mind. She felt both honored and humbled to witness it. Late afternoon brought a gentle rain of silver droplets that vanished on contact with leaves. The crew donned light rain jackets and continued their survey under the soft shower. Mira paused beneath an arch of crystal trees, letting the fine mist dance on her face. She closed her eyes and focused on the hum beneath her feet. A new feeling rose inside her. Compassion. She cared for this world as she would a friend. It was a bond that went beyond science. That evening, the crew gathered around the glowing lantern in the tent. Dr. Chan shared a warm herbal tea brewed from Verdantian petals. The flavor was sweet, with a hint of something ancient. As they sipped, each spoke of their favorite discovery. When it was Mira's turn, she described the runes and the planet's heartbeat. A hush fell over the group. They realized they were part of something extraordinary, and fear melted into awe. Alone later, Mira reviewed the day's data under her tent's soft light. She felt a curious tug in her mind and placed a hand on her temple. She remembered the glowing figure reaching for her in her dream. The queen's plea echoed softly in her thoughts. Mira closed her eyes and whispered, "I understand now." The world outside settled into calm as if waiting. Mira felt a promise forming in her heart. She would not let Verdantia suffer. Her journey had found its true purpose. Captain Myra Stone felt a tremor in the ground just as dawn's light began to filter through the crystal canopy. Drawn by the subtle vibration, she led her team toward a narrow crevice hidden behind a curtain of silver vines. The air here was cooler, and each breath felt charged with purpose. As they entered the crevice, the humming beneath them grew louder, like a distant voice calling out in pain. Torchlight revealed walls coated with bioluminescent moss, its glow shifting from soft blue to pale green as Myra's team passed. The passage opened into a vast cavern where massive roots curled like sleeping serpents. At the center, a broken crystal spire lay shattered, and from its fractured tip, a faint glow pulsed irregularly. Myra's heart pounded. She sensed that this place held the secret of Verdantia's distress. Stepping closer, she saw the glow coalesce into a figure kneeling beside the spire. The figure's skin looked like moonlight on water, pale, smooth, and slightly translucent. Two arms, etched with glowing runes, reached toward Mira with desperate gentleness. The large opal eyes that met Mira's were filled with sorrow and hope. It was the alien queen, the true mind of Verdantia, and she was dying. Mira dropped to one knee, her breath catching. The queen's presence washed over her like a wave of emotions, centuries of wisdom, beauty, and now unbearable agony. A silent scream echoed in Mira's mind, the toxin seeping through. Verdantia's veins was killing her people in their dreams and draining the queen's life force. Mira pressed a hand to her heart, tears welling in her eyes. She had come to study a planet, but now she faced a ruler pleading for help. The queen tried to rise, but fell back, her strength ebbing with each heartbeat. Mira gently supported her, feeling the alien warmth slip away. Around them, the cavern's glow dimmed, as if mourning the queen's fading life. Samples of broken crystal littered the floor, of evidence of a battle fought not with weapons, but by an unseen poison. Mira's jaw tightened with resolve. She would not allow this magnificent being to die, drawing on every lesson learned in her training. Mira carefully scanned the queen's palms. Patterns of corruption spread through the runes like black veins. "I will help you," she whispered. The queen's eyes softened, and in that moment, the bond between them deepened. Mira sensed the queen's final hope resting on her shoulders. She could feel the pulse slowing in the queen's chest, and it drove her to act faster. Mira instructed her team to secure the cavern and set up a field lab. Dr. Theo Chan and the biologist, Liara Voss, gathered crystal shards and moss samples, while Mira stayed by the queen's side. Each shard held traces of the toxin, and the moss glowed with the planet's last defense. Mira held the queen's hand, feeling the limp glow beneath her glove. She spoke softly, offering words of comfort she hoped transcended species. "You are not alone. We will find a cure." As hours passed, Mira's determination burned brighter than the cavern's bioluminescence. She mixed crushed crystal with moss extract, testing each blend against the queen's weakening energy field. Every failed attempt left Mira's chest tight with worry. Yet the queen's gaze, even in pain, encouraged her to keep trying. Each flicker of gratitude in those opal eyes renewed Mira's hope. By the time the twin suns dipped low in the sky above, Mira had crafted a vial of glimmering solution. Heart pounding, she held it to the queen's lips. The queen drank, and, for a moment, silence reigned. Then a soft glow returned to her veins, spreading through her runes like dawn breaking across the horizon. Relief and joy flooded Mira's mind as the queen's strength returned in gentle waves. When the queen opened her eyes fully, they shone with gratitude and new life. Mira felt tears slip down her cheeks, unashamed and warm. The bond they shared remained, but now it was tempered by healing and mutual respect. Mira knew their journey had only begun, but in that moment, she believed that compassion and courage could heal even the deepest wounds. And Verdanche's heartbeat pulsed steadily. Once more under her care. A soft breeze carried glowing petals across the clearing as Captain Mira Stone and the alien queen set out at dawn. The queen moved slowly, still recovering, but her eyes held steady light. Each petal floated on the wind like a message. Mira knelt and gently caught one. It shivered with memory, images of Verdanche's golden age flowing through her mind. She saw great festivals of light, cities built in harmony with crystal trees, and the queen's people thriving. A pang of sorrow twisted in Mira's chest. She would help this world remember its joy. They followed the trail of petals into a valley, where the air felt colder. The forest here was dense, and vines hung low, dripping with dew. At every step, another petal drifted down, guiding them deeper. Mira noticed dark spores clinging to leaves, hinting at the toxin's reach. She paused, recalling how the queen had suffered in her dreams. Stooping, Mira pressed a hand to a vine and closed her eyes. She hummed a soft tone she had recorded. In her tent frequencies that soothed the bioluminescent moss, the spores trembled and fell away, harmless. Mira smiled, proud of her small but vital victory. As they pressed on, the queen's memories shimmered through the air. Mira saw fields of crystal flowers that once sang when rain fell. She saw children dancing under trees, their laughter like bells. The images painted hope in her mind. When she glanced at the queen, she saw gratitude shining in those opal eyes. The bond between them felt like a thread joining two hearts. Mira felt tears behind her eyelids. She blinked them away, determined to stay strong for both of them. Midday light filtered through a glass-like canopy onto a scarred clearing. Here the earth was cracked, and black vines writhed like snakes. Mira's scanner beeped wildly. "Poison concentration is highest here," she reported. The queen's lips quivered, and Mira knew they had reached a heart of pain. But they could not turn back now. She took the queen's hand and squeezed gently. Together, they stepped forward. In the center of the clearing grew a single crystal flower, its petals dull and lifeless. Its center pulsed weakly. Myra knelt and unpacked a small device, a sonic emitter, tuned to Verdantia's healing frequency. She placed it near the flower and activated it. A low hum spread across the clearing. The black vines recoiled, shriveling at the edges. The crystal flower brightened, its glow returning in gentle waves. Mira's heart soared as she watched life flow back into the bloom. The queen gasped softly, tears of joy slipping down her cheeks. She reached out and touched the flower, and Mira saw the runes on her hands light up in response. The clearing transformed around them, vines unfurled, moss regained its emerald glow, and the air filled with the soft song of healing. Myra felt as if the planet itself exhaled relief. She stood and bowed her head to the queen. "Verdantia remembers," she whispered. Night came gently as they returned to camp, carrying samples of the restored flower. Under the glowing vines, the queen spoke her first words to Mira. "You have given us hope." Mira's chest tightened with emotion. She placed a hand over her heart, feeling gratitude for the honor of their friendship. She knelt and looked into the queen's eyes. "You have given me purpose," she replied softly. That night, Myra drifted to sleep under a sky full of bioluminescent stars. She dreamed of a future where humans and Verdantians walked side by side, sharing knowledge and laughter. In her dream, the queen sang a melody of renewal, and Myra joined in, her voice strong and clear. She woke at dawn with a smile, her spirit light. The journey ahead would be long, but with hope restored, she felt ready. Verdantia's story would continue, and humanity's courage would be woven into its next chapter. Captain Myra Stone rose with the dawn light, dancing across the crystal trees. The air felt crisp and alive, as if the planet itself celebrated the queen's recovery. Today, Mira and the alien queen ventured toward a hidden cavern that lay beneath, a ring of violet flowers. The queen moved with new strength, her runes glowing softly as she guided Mira over mossy stones. Each step they took echoed with promise. They reached the edge of a crystalline cliff that overlooked a valley of giant glimmering mushrooms. The mushrooms' caps spread like giant umbrellas, their undersides glowing with faint pulses. Mira knelt to examine one, noting dark veins coiling through its stem. The queen watched quietly, her eyes clouded with memory and worry. She placed a delicate hand on Mira's shoulder and whispered, "This is our next trial." With careful skill, Mira collected a small sample of the mushroom's cap. She felt its cool surface and saw traces of a thick, silvery sap. As she studied it, a sudden tremor shook the ground. The mushrooms shuddered, and a low moan filled the air, as if the valley itself cried out. Mira's heart pounded. She sensed fear in the cavern's core. The queen's hand tightened around hers, and together they descended into a hollow beneath the mushroom forest. Inside the cavern, walls of clear crystal rose high, reflecting every glow into dancing patterns. But at the center lay a tangled mass of dark fungus that clung to the crystals like a shadow. Its tendrils reached out, pulsing with a faint, sickly light.
Ow.
Mira felt a prickling down her spine. The fungus seemed alive, aware of their presence. She raised her scanner and recorded its energy signature. It fed on fear and doubt, spreading poison through Verdantia's dreams. The queen stepped forward, her glowing palms held open. Mira watched as the runes on the queen's arms began to emit a soothing frequency. Waves of gentle light rippled outward, touching the fungus. At first, the dark tendrils recoiled, but then they pulsed faster, like a frightened creature. Myra realized the queen's mercy made the fungus panic, not heal. She needed a different approach, one that spoke to its nature. Mira knelt and closed her eyes, listening to the subtle hum of the crystal walls. She remembered how the spores had calmed when soothed by sound earlier. She unslung a small sonic emitter from her pack and set it to a low, steady tone that matched the gentle heartbeat of Verdantia. She adjusted the frequency until the cavern resonated with a soft, steady pulse. The queen joined her, adding her psychic melody, and together they wove a song of calm. The dark fungus quivered as the sound washed over it. Slowly, its tendrils loosened their grip on the crystal, uncoiling like a creature waking from a bad dream. The sickly light faded, replaced by a soft, pearly glow. Mira felt relief wash over her as the cavern brightened. Crystals around them sang in harmony. With the sonic waves, the fungus had responded to kindness, not force. When the last shadow lifted, the queen reached out and touched the central crystal. It pulsed with renewed life, glowing in brilliant hues of pink and gold. Myra knelt beside her, feeling tears of joy in her eyes. "You have done it," the queen whispered, her voice full of gratitude and wonder. Mira smiled and placed a hand over her heart. She realized how powerful empathy could be. Even against a living poison, they gathered samples of the healed fungus and crystal, careful to leave no harm behind. As they climbed back toward the surface, the valley seemed transformed. The giant mushrooms glowed brighter, their caps opening like welcoming arms. Birds with silver wings flew above, singing new melodies. The air carried a fresh scent of hope and renewal. Back at camp, as the twin suns set, Mira recorded her findings. The queen stood beside her, leaning on a crystal staff, her eyes reflecting the tent lantern's glow. Mira thanked her silently. For the journey they shared, she knew more challenges lay ahead, but after today's victory, she believed any darkness could be healed with understanding and compassion. And so their bond deepened, woven by shared purpose and the gentle light of a world reborn. Captain Myra Stone awoke to a faint tremor in her chest, as though her own heartbeat were echoing the queen's fading pulse. The cavern around them glowed softly with living crystals, but their light felt dimmer than before. At the center, the alien queen lay on a bed of moss and petals, her skin as pale as mist. The glowing runes along her arms flickered weakly, and each breath she drew seemed to struggle. Mira knelt beside her and placed a gentle hand on the queen's forehead. In that moment, the queen reached out with her mind, and Mira felt a silent plea. "Please don't die." Myra's heart clenched. She had promised to save this world, but now the weight of that promise pressed on her like a mountain. She looked down at the queen's delicate hands, once bright with light, now almost translucent. Tears welled in Mira's eyes as she whispered, "I won't let you go." Determination flared inside her. She rose and gathered her team. Dr. Theo Chan, whose knowledge of fermentation was unmatched, and Liara Voss, whose skill with alien enzymes was their best hope. Together, they would craft a cure. In the small field lab, the air was thick with urgency. Myra mixed crushed crystal shards with the glowing sap of memory petals. While Theo prepared a broth of human yeast and verdantian spores, Liara measured precise drops of enzyme concentrate, her hands steady despite the stakes. Each ingredient danced with potential. If balanced correctly, they could cleanse the toxin. If not, the queen would slip away forever. Myra's hands trembled as she poured the first blend into a vial. She watched the liquid swirl in iridescent patterns, like galaxies forming in a drop of water. The queen's mental voice reached Mira. Again, softer this time. "Hurry." Mira pressed her lips together and took a deep breath. She remembered a lullaby her mother had sung when she was a child, a song of healing and hope. She hummed the melody softly, letting its rhythm guide her hands. Theo looked up and nodded, as if he heard the song too. Together, they added the final enzyme, and the mixture glowed with a warm, golden light. Mira felt a tremor of hope stir in her chest. Carrying the vial, Mira returned to the queen's side. The cavern felt still, as if the planet held its breath. She knelt and gently lifted the queen's hand, placing the vial at her lips. The queen's eyes fluttered open, and she whispered, "Please don't die." Mira's throat tightened. She squeezed the queen's hand and guided the cure into her mouth. The queen drank slowly, each drop a promise of life renewed. Mira felt the warmth of the liquid spread through her glove, and in that instant she believed. The air around them brightened. The runes along the queen's arms pulsed with renewed energy, and the living crystals in the cavern responded, shining like 1,000 stars. The queen drew a deep breath, and her eyes filled with tears, tears of relief, gratitude, and new strength. Mira knelt beside her, tears gliding down her cheeks. She whispered, "You will live." The queen's hand closed around hers, her grip firm and warm. In her mind, Mira heard a gentle song of thanks, a melody so pure it made her soul soar. As the twin suns dipped below Verdantia's horizon, the queen rose unsteadily to her feet. Mira offered her arm, and together they walked toward the cavern's exit. Behind them, the living crystals sang in soft chorus, and the moss glowed with vibrant life. The journey had been long and perilous, but compassion and courage had triumphed. Mira looked at the queen and saw not just an alien monarch, but a friend whose trust she had honored. In that moment, the bond between human and Verdantian felt unbreakable. They emerged into the starlit clearing, where petals floated down like confetti. The crew gathered, cheering softly. Mira felt her chest swell with pride and joy. She turned to the queen, whose eyes shone with newfound life, and heard her speak aloud for the first time. "Thank you, Mira Stone." Mira smiled, her heart full. She knew this was only the beginning of their shared adventure. Together, they would heal Verdantia completely and, in doing so, they would forever change the destiny of both their worlds. Captain Mira Stone stood at the edge of Verdantia's great crystal lake, the surface shining like a mirror under the twin moons. She felt the cool breeze brush her hair as she watched the alien queen step onto a floating platform of living crystal. The queen's runes glowed softly, reflecting her renewed strength. Mira's heart swelled with pride and a gentle sadness, pride for what they had achieved together, and sadness because this journey would soon change both their lives forever. The queen raised her hand, and water lily drifted toward her, glowing with bioluminescent petals. Each petal carried a memory of Verdantia's healing, the restored fungus, singing cavern, and most of all the bond she shared with Mira. As the flowers gathered around the queen, Mira noticed her tears of joy that sparkled in the moonlight. She stepped forward and knelt, bowing her head in respect. In that moment she understood the true meaning of bridge between worlds. A gentle melody rose from the crystal beneath the queen's feet. It was a song of farewell and new beginnings. Mira listened, feeling each note resonate in her chest like a promise. She remembered her mother's lullaby on Earth, and she realized that though the worlds were far apart, their stories were woven by the same threads of hope and love. Mira closed her eyes and let the music fill her, imprinting this memory on her soul forever. When the song ended, the queen spoke in her soft, musical voice. "Mira Stone, you have saved me and my world. In return, we offer our friendship and wisdom." A chorus of gentle vibrations rose from the lake, rippling through the air. Mira rose to her feet, tears shining in her eyes. She bowed before the queen and said, "I accept your gift with all my heart." Their hands met in a shared grip, sealing their pact in the glow of crystal light. Behind them, the crew emerged from the trees, each carrying tokens of Verdantia. A smooth crystal shard, a vial of glowing sap, and a woven bracelet of vine and flower. Mira watched as Dr. Theo Chan placed a shard in her hand, and Liara Voss draped the bracelet over her wrist. Each gift felt alive, humming with the planet's gratitude. Mira turned to the queen and smiled, her voice soft with wonder. "We will carry your story to the stars." A soft laugh like wind through chimes came from the queen. "And we will cherish yours," she replied. The floating platform began to rise, carrying the queen toward the sky. Mira felt a pang of loss, but she lifted her chin and waved, her heart sure that this was not goodbye. The platform drifted upward, petals trailing behind like glowing confetti, until the queen stood beneath the first light of dawn. When the platform disappeared into the morning sky, Mira felt Verdantia's heartbeat slow, as if the planet paused to mark the moment. She turned to her crew, her eyes bright. "It's time to go home," she said, her voice steady but soft. They packed their gear, leaving only footprints and gratitude behind. Mira took one last look at the crystal lake. its surface now calm and clear, a perfect reflection of hope. As the starship lifted off, Mira pressed her hand against the viewport. The planet receded into the blue of space, but its lights crystal forests, glowing vines, and the mirror lake glowed like jewels. In her mind, she heard the Queen's voice, "Please come back." Mira smiled, whispering into the silence, "I will." She felt that promise reach across the void, a tether of friendship that no distance could sever. Back in her quarters, Mira placed the Queen's gifts on a small shelf. Next, she studied the crystal shard, marveling at its soft glow. Then she opened her datapad and began recording her final logs. Every discovery, every healing, and every moment of compassion found its place in her report. As she wrote, she felt a warm pride. Humanity's courage and empathy had bridged an impossible gap between worlds. That night, Mira looked out on the stars from her cabin window. She remembered the Queen's plea, the shared songs, and the glowing petals dancing on the wind. A gentle smile touched her lips. Though the journey was done, her story with Verdantia had only just begun. With hope shining in her heart, Captain Myra Stone closed her eyes and dreamed of the day she would return. To her friend beneath the crystal trees,